Hey, hi there. Marvin here once again. Good to have you with me. Thank you for sharing your time with me again. As I've said before, time is life. Some people say time is money, but I believe time is life. Thank you for sharing your life with me. I really appreciate that. Thank you once again to all of you subscribers, and even those of you that are just, trying to see what this is all about. You're curious. Thank you for your curiosity again. We appreciate having you here. So let's quickly delve into what we have to have conversation about today. Today I take you kind of around southern and a little bit of Central Africa because I did come and use an old map, 1837 map by Alexander Merensky, and I had positive, powerful conversations and responses from you. So I want us to go move forward. I now want to be able to relate these maps into current affairs and the current maps. What are the differences? And I'm taking you around quite different locations, even though there's a particular place that I want to focus on for the sake of future conversations that we're going to be having in terms of as we continue to find truth, to search for truth. So today I'm introducing you to places like Zambia, countries like Zambia, which not many people talk about, especially if you're African American. That would be really a dark age, that particular location of Africa. But it's rich with history. And I just feel like we should delve into the traditions and cultures of these peoples. And I'm going to introduce you to some of these people that you may not have heard of, and even locations and history that maybe you've not been privy to. You're going to hear about those things on this particular one. It's jam-packed, so I want to move as fast as I can. And even today's presentation is not going to be enough, so we'll still do much, much, much more. But hang in there, fasten your seatbelts, and let's try and move as quickly as we can. And I hope that this is going to kind of come to life and bring to life the maps that we keep seeing. Because I think that sometimes we see these old maps, but because not many people are connecting them to what is currently obtaining, so we can get lost in the dust. So I'm not going to leave you in the dust. I want you to bring you into modernity so you can relate to what is prevailing in these countries right now. Let's take off. Fasten your seatbelts. So here, we're close to Reailboo. All right, close to Reailboo, and there's one of the cities or villages or locations I did not pick out last time was Elim right there. All right, Elim. And then one of the things I was saying in that last presentation was that there were wells that were marked around Reailboo. Okay, now, and then we're asking ourselves, is it just a coincidence that there are these wells? And we know that the story of Abraham and Jacob is that, I beg your pardon, Jacob, is that he was digging wells, and then he was always being confronted by enemies, and then he would go to another place and dig a well again, and then when there was no contention over the last one, he named it Rehoboth. All right, so now is it just coincidence that there are wells that are marked around here? I think there could be another one over towards the east. Forget where that one is. I keep missing them, because sometimes I find them and then I lose them. So but there's one that actually says deep pit just around here. But let's focus on that location for a moment, because there's something that I want to bring out, because I do want us to be able to follow this line of latitude here. And there's some interesting things I want to point out, which are going to be very, very crucial and a reference point for future videos that we're going to do in terms of lessons. Now, I don't want us to get stuck in history. I want us to move forward, be able to connect these maps to the maps that we currently have, and even locations that we know that we've been able to experience. Now, around these areas, personally, I've been able to experience certain cities and locations, and I want to be able to bring out the experiences of those cultures and traditions and the physical features to be able to make a judgment as to whether these locations are really true or they are not. Okay? And so one of the key things I want us to do now is to go speed straight across that line of latitude and go all the way to the end, to the western coast. All right, let me take you there quickly, because there's some things I want to start pointing out here. All right, so that's the western coast, and we find Kilimane here. Okay, because I'm going to take you to modern maps now to be able to see certain things. Now, one of the things that people said, one of the comments I got from skeptics, I think there was like two of them, who said but the names on here are English and all of that. And again, I want to reiterate this. If we get hung up on names, we'll miss it completely. Names have evolved. Names have changed. One of the things that people were saying was like, like those English names and whatnot. So I responded to one person to say, look, for example, I have a sister by the name of Natasha. And there was a time we never believed Natasha could be a name that would exist anywhere else until we found out Natasha is also a Russian name. You see what I'm saying? So, and then also with the changes of names and then the interactions of the local people, the African people with Europeans, there were always slight changes to the names, okay? Because somehow they had to find a way to be able to make them user-friendly, that the Europeans would be able to pronounce or say those names, because they were just not able to at all right? So Kilimani here is going to be key. Just take note of Kilimani. That's in present-day Mozambique. And we're going to come back to that at some point. So take note of Kilimani there. Okay, now if you see some interesting things there, again, take note of them and help me out in the comments. So let's just scroll through here, and I want to show you, following that line of latitude, okay? Keep your eyes across that line of latitude there. I want to bring you across to a very monumental place here, all right? I don't know if you already see it, but there we have the Victoria Falls, all right? And in there is somewhere around there is where we have the great city of Livingston in the country of Zambia. So what you're actually seeing there right now is a river splitting two countries there. There's Zimbabwe and then there's Zambia. So right around there you have the great city of Livingston. Some of you, I think, have seen a video I did on David Livingstone. This city was named after David Livingstone, the Scottish missionary who we were told discovered the Victoria Falls, which is obviously not true because there were local people there living there. One of the tribes there was the Tokalea, okay? And I'm from that country, so I know who these people are, okay? And there's a little more information I need to give you about this. The reason I'm doing this is because we have to be able to come to meaningful conclusions as to whether what we're doing is fake or we're misled or these maps are fake and whatnot. Because some people, which is a few, and I'm grateful that there was just a few critics, like maybe 3 at the most or 5 at the most. Everybody else, there was like 400 comments, all positive, all agreeing with what we were seeing here. So take note of this location because we'll come back to it using current maps, and I'll give you more information that can be helpful. Why am I doing this? Is because we are now at a point where we must go and visit these locations physically, all right? And those of you that are subscribers or you're watching regularly, whatnot, I promise you, we're going to get to the bottom of these locations and go and see those things for ourselves. I'm heading to Livingston. Zambia is my country, so going there is not a problem. There's a chief there called Chief Mukuni, who I've met personally, and I'm going to go back there and I'm going to take you there. You and I, all of you are subscribers or you're keen followers here, you're following, you're watching, you haven't subscribed yet, I'm going to take you there. You and me are going to go over to these locations because it looks like there's a lot of Bible history around here that we could be missing that could help us determine if these locations we're looking at are really genuine, okay? We have to study the lifestyles, the cultures, the traditions of these people. And you and me are going to head right over to the Victoria Falls and go and see things for ourselves. You'll be able to see things on camera in real time, all right? So let's head back here to where we started. Let me get back there quickly. All right, so back here. Okay, so I'm bringing you back here. So there's also other things that you might see locations. There's Onipa Bethel. Now, which I personally would like to believe is another kind of Bethel. I'm sure that Onipa means something and then it's related to Bethel because we did see Bethel deep in the south. This is Onipa Bethel, okay? And then obviously at some point we should be able to find out why that was called Onipa Bethel. All right? Take note of Elim there. Elim was, I think, according to the Bible, was a place where there was, 12 wells? All right? Now, and that's another interesting thing for us to think about. You think about the 12 tribes of Israel, and then this location was known for having 12 wells. Interesting thing to look into there. All right? So what I want to do now here, having taken you here, let me just take you over all the way down out to the western coast. So you see that we're now out of it here. So it kind of gives you a good idea what we're dealing with here, okay? So now I want us to now move and go to modern maps. So stay with me right here. Okay, so now here I've now brought you to the modern day maps, okay? So I want you to take note of a few things here, because when we're just looking at the old maps, which don't have these country boundaries, the borders that obviously are new to the African setting, because Africa was always one country, but you know, because of colonialism, they were divided by borders, okay, which Africa now is trying to get rid of. They're trying to get rid of these borders because they've just brought conflict, division, and confusion. All right, so take a look at that. Now I'll bring you, let me shoot straight over here, which is where I told you that's where there's the Livingston, the Victoria Falls, I beg your pardon. All right, so zoom in, and there's Livingston right there. Okay, I believe you should still be able to see. You see how that Livingston and Harare are on the same Tropic of Capricorn. Well, I mean, not Tropic of Capricorn, I beg your pardon, latitude, on the same latitude, okay? That's going to become a key part of our investigations in the future. And then scroll across all the way to the end, and you find now Kilimani, all right? Now, that name also, Kilimani, that we saw on the old map, it was spelled a little bit differently, all right? If you look at it, it was spelled a little bit differently. This one now has a Q, but this is what has been happening to names everywhere else, okay? Now, the local people actually pronounce that name as Kilimani, okay? But when you saw it from the old map, which was with a K, people could read that in English as Kilimani or something like that. Okay, but the local people pronounce that as Kilimani. All right, so there we go. Now, one of the interesting things I want you to take note here. Let's go all the way to the western coast, so you can see some things here. So this is roundabout where we saw Reailboo and Elim. All right. Now they don't appear on the new map, because obviously my thinking is those are now villages. They're not cities, so they're not really significant. They're only significant for historical purposes. But there again, you see there's Reailboo right here. Reailboo still appears on that map close to Windhoek. Okay, some of you saw a video I did concerning the city of Gibeon and the stones or the meteorites, which was somewhere around in between there somewhere. Okay, which doesn't show on the new map, the modern maps, because obviously now it's a village. All right. So now, what we see here, particularly the events happening around Livingston and the Victoria Falls, for your own information, I'm sure you see Lake Kariba over here. Lake Kariba. Now, Lake Kariba here, for those of you who don't know, is the biggest man-made lake in the whole world. All right. And so Lake Kariba there, let me put it back in the center there. All right. So Lake Kariba there is the biggest man-made lake in the world, which is right next to the Victoria Falls here in Livingston, which is the biggest waterfall in the world. It's the biggest in size, length, and depth. The Victoria Falls is the biggest. Now, these cities that you see over here, because my presentation of this section of the map, one of the reasons is because I am just about to take you up north a little bit into the central region, okay? Because now we're going to start dealing with the Kingdom of Congo, and we'll look at maps that depict that area as the Kingdom of the Jews, all right? Which also at some point was known as the Kingdom of Congo. And the Kingdom of Congo, if for those that don't know yet, inhabited most of Angola and parts of Zambia. And when we look at the map of the Central Province, it will become a little bit more clear. But one of the things that is also important here is that I want to take you guys eventually to the city of Masvingo in Zimbabwe. All right, city of Masvingo. Why? Which is close to Harare, the capital city of Harare. Why? Because some people believe I don't know if you've heard of the Zimbabwe ruins, all right? A city that has been ruined. It was renowned as one of the biggest trade centers around the world, if anything. Just like the Kingdom of Congo, in the time that it existed, it was known as the center of the world, the Kingdom of Congo. It was, at one point, it was known as the center of the world. And then now you have the Zimbabwe ruins, all right, a city that was ruined and abandoned, which some people believe was the location of King Solomon. Okay? Now, follow me, because this is going to be very, very important for you to understand. When we talk about the present day Israel, okay, one of the issues that I keep having personally is there were different articles that were used to build the temple, okay, in Jerusalem. One of those articles or minerals was copper, okay, and copper is today, present day, is mined in Zambia and Congo. And then you have people claiming that the ruins in Maswingo was actually where King David lived. I beg your pardon, King Solomon. So they're not far from the truth. And in the series of studying these maps, we're going to look at the life of Solomon and look at similarities. And that's why I'm telling you about the importance of us going to the actual locations of the present day existences to find out more information. Livingston has a museum. They have a lot of historical facts that they have kept. So if we were to go there and ask questions, I believe that they will give us a lot of links, because Livingston there, when you look at it, is somehow connected to Windhoek and everything that happened there. It's not too far away. And then you have scholars suggesting that used to be the city of Solomon. Now, the other reason why that might not be too far from the truth, we're going to verify in our own studies, all right? But the reason they're not too far from the truth is Solomon, to build the temple, used a lot of copper. Israel, present day Israel, does not produce copper. They don't. This is where copper comes from. The biggest producers of copper is Zambia and Congo, with Zambia right here. Let me bring that up back again. And then also, as we talk about that, with regards to the issue of names, because I think some maps, like I think there's a place where we saw Reailboo appearing twice, and then there was another one. So my thinking is this, and again, you can send in comments and tell us what you think about this. But one of the things that I thought was, when you look at, for example, Lusaka, the capital city of Lusaka, that confuses a lot of people. Why? Because there's actually two Lusakas, all right? One of them is the city, and the other one is a province. So the city of Lusaka is actually within the province of Lusaka. And Lusaka is actually the smallest province of the country of Zambia. But it is the most inhabited. It has the biggest population of all the provinces. All right? So those things can get a little bit confusing, which is why when you go to the old map, the 1837 map that we started with, you see what was called Onipa Bethel. And then there's also a Bethel. So those could be the reasons. That's just my thinking so far. But as we continue to study these maps and study this work and study this history, we're going to find out why some of these names are similar, all right? Or why some of these locations or names appear twice or maybe sometimes three times. And I can also add that sometimes I think that sometimes when a kingdom, for example, was named by a hero, for example, let's say they name a territory as Ziba, I believe they would also maybe have a village named after him in case the entire kingdom's name changes to another person. That location as a village still remains under the name of that person, such as Ziba. That's just an example I'm giving. All right? So these locations, I want you to see them. Why? Because soon we will travel to these locations so you can experience them yourselves. Because now we have to go into studying the cultures of these people. All right? Let me bring you back down south here so you can see a few more things here. Remember, we've seen cities around Pretoria, which was cutting across somewhere close to Gaborone, and we saw different cities there. Close to Swaziland, there was, I think, Berea, and cities like that. So these are the places that we now need to go to physically. And I personally promise you that I am going to take you there. Whether you're coming with me physically or just by following live or through videos, I will take you to these locations. Because in this awakening that we're going through, there's a lot of speculation, obviously, and we have to do speculation because we're investigating these things, right? But at some point, we now have to go and experience these things for ourselves. Talking about names and names being English and whatnot. You look at Gaborone. Gaborone today is pronounced Gaborone, but you know the locals actually pronounce that as Habaroni. You see what I'm saying? So this is where people get mixed up when they start to claim that the names are English. A lot of these names that we think are English, they are not English. They are not English at all. Okay, so now here on this map, I'm just trying to help you be able to identify these regions more accurately. I don't want anybody to be left behind and get confused. So I've put up this map now here because of where we're going in the future. Because now we're going to start exploring the Kingdom of the Congo right here. You see where that is? See where that is? The Democratic Republic of Congo right there. All right, and Angola. We've just said a few things about Lusaka and Zambia right there. And then we had Kilimani right at the end here in Mozambique. We have Harare. Remember, we followed that line, latitude, where we saw Sesheke, the Victoria Falls, the city of Livingston, and then we had those locations of Reailboo, Elim, and whatnot. So right across there. Bear that in mind. Because like I said, in the near future, I now want to start focusing on Congo. Congo, as we know, I don't know how many of you know by now, but Congo for me, from everything that I've read and investigated, that's the richest part of the world. That Congo. Congo has every mineral you can ever imagine. And those of you who are following events there, we know that there's modern day slavery going on there. I'm not going to ask you to pray because we need action. We need to be able to do something practical about this problem. All right. So we'll continue looking at the map that we started with, and then also I came across a map from 1855 where there was a guy who actually claimed. If you look at this portion here, that's where the what do you call it? Lake. How can I lose that name now? How can I forget that name? Can you imagine? Is it Lake Victoria? I'm getting messed up here now. So I had a guy who actually saw the River Jordan here somewhere from the 1855 map. I'm going to show you that map so you can see it for yourself because I actually saw that name written there. I saw that name written there myself. Okay. So as we head into this central region, that also will become very important. Lake Victoria, actually, it's Lake Victoria. I don't know how I got messed up with that one. So that's Lake Victoria in Uganda. All right. It's actually shared with Tanzania. Is it Tanzania or Kenya? Tanzania. All right. Okay. So Tanzania over here and Uganda. Then you have Kenya. So a part of the lake is in Kenya. Okay. So 3 countries actually share that Lake Victoria. So somebody saw, who was looking at the 1855 map, saw the River Jordan down here somewhere. And I'm going to bring that map and show you. So maybe we can fish out some more locations from there. So that map also does not contradict what we're doing. It actually gives us more information. But in the near future, the focus is going to be on the Democratic Republic of Congo. And as you can see there towards the south, it plunges into the nation of Zambia. So these 2 countries actually share a few cultures and traditions. And recently I'm finding out that the Luba Kingdom, which is actually shared between the 2 countries, has roots in the Hebrew traditions. In the Hebrew traditions. So there are a lot of people actually in Congo who actually identify as Jews. So we'll talk about that some other time. So this actually tells you that Zambia is actually very an important part of the whole conversation. And one of the things I'll tell you about Zambia is that it's a very, very quiet place. Not many people talk about it. In America, I found out there's only ever one person ever that I came across who knows about the Victoria Falls, the biggest falls in the whole world. Not many people don't know it. All right. So, but Zambia is a very interesting country. The city of Lusaka there, which I showed you earlier on, has been a country that has provided refuge, to a lot of countries around that were fighting for their freedom. ANC in South Africa, ANC leaders, a lot of them found refuge in Lusaka itself when they were going through their struggles during the apartheid era. So Zambia is going to become a big part of this conversation, because I also believe personally it was a part of the Kingdom of Congo. Because like I said, the Kingdom of Congo inhabited a big portion. I believe it was, I'm not sure exactly what it was, but in my estimation, it was around Namibia somewhere, parts of Botswana, maybe even parts of Zimbabwe, but part of Zambia as well. I can't tell you exactly where it was, but it was quite a big empire. Also, another thing to bring out here is that the Bantu people, which in my local pronunciation is actually Bantu, all right? And this reminds me again of another thing about names that I wanted to mention. I've forgotten, but I'll mention it when I remember. So the Bantu migration is believed to have actually started from Cameroon and came over into this section and over around here and further into the south into South Africa. So again, this is going to become a big part of our conversations in the future. Let me take you back to the previous map here as I wind up. But I'm doing this because I want people to become very familiar with these regions, all right? And like I said, I'm personally going to take you to a lot of these locations like Lusaka, and I just talked about Livingston itself, known for the mighty Victoria Falls and the biggest man-made lake in the whole world, Lake Kariba. These are things I want to show you. And the reason I want to do that also is because I believe that there's a lot of information that we can get from these locations, from the people that have inhabited these locations for a very long time. And I mentioned Chief Mukuni, who I've met personally right in Livingston here. So I have to go back there in the wake of this awakening that is happening, where we need a lot more information. We have to go there. I have to take you to Livingston to see the Victoria Falls and meet the people who have inhabited this portion of land for ages, who are going to give us much more information that will kind of help us zero into this section here, following that line of latitude that we're looking at, where you have Rupara now, Runda, and all these Nyangana, all around Reailboo and Elim. These are new civilizations, so to say. So we're going to do that. This is going to get really exciting, so stay with me. So yeah, thank you so much for touring with me. So like I said, we're going to start going to these destinations, physically going to these pieces of land and villages and cities and towns to excavate truth, to speak to people that have lived in those locations for ages and be able to reconnect to the past. I think that this is going to be very helpful and even become pivotal in determining what locations are genuine and which ones are not. We're going to arrive at the truth, and I'm glad to have you on board on this journey of rediscovering our history. Thank you so much once again. Have a good day. And as I always say, if you can't have a good day, then at least have a day. I'll see you on the next one. For now, let's go catch the day. Bye-bye.